Welcome back. In the previous lesson, we'd gone through how to gather data from SimilarWeb and to fill in essential information into the template I provided. I'd filled in the information for Udemy, a key player identified in the business environment for the industry vertical I'm demonstrating. As I'd mentioned, I've gone ahead with the research template completion for other leading players in the business environment. I've done this exercise for Coursera, Class Central, edX, Udacity, Allison, and Khan Academy. Let's switch over to the template and see what the data tells us. As you can see, the data for each of the brands is filled in. What I've done as I complete each section is highlight any data that stands out. For example, if we look at desktop traffic, you'll notice that visitors to most of the sites prefer to access via desktop. This likely means that the content is better consumed on a larger screen than mobile phones. There are, however, two outliers highlighted in blue text. These sites seem to receive about 50% of their traffic from mobile devices. On the right, the averages across the websites indicate a certain trend for the industry, a predominant preference for desktop access for educational content here. Note down your observations, insights, and approach decisions when you're doing this yourself. So what does this mean strategically? It may be important to design websites and associated content with a desktop-first approach. However, one could go the other way with a mobile-first approach to specifically target the mobile consumer. In the case of this demonstration, since I'm preparing digital marketing courses as my product, which are long-format videos and text articles, I'd veer towards a desktop-first website that is mobile responsive. There, the very first strategic decision. Here's what you'll need to do whenever you're analyzing information, especially when dealing with strategic decision making and approaches. First, absorb the data. Next, make observations. After that, put down any insights or hypotheses that you can draw from the observations you've made. And finally, make a strategic decision or outline an approach based on your observations. Next on the template, we have monthly visitors. Most of the brands being researched in this demonstration have monthly visitors in the millions, with Udemy leading with over 9 million visitors. You should always determine who your industry leaders are, those operating at scale, because any data you can collect from them will likely provide you with best at-scale trend information where audience behavior is concerned. Next, pages per visit. As you're seeing here, audiences tend to visit multiple pages per visit. So, for a website in this kind of business vertical, it would be vital to have vast amount of content that users can consume. It would also be important for content to be linked, leading from one to the next. Since the websites I'm researching in this demonstration all provide courses, it's possible to have similar and related content. Have related and relevant content that's readily available for continuous browsing and consumption. That's the takeaway. Visit duration gives a good indicator of engagement on the sites. Most of these platforms have video content, so they tend to hold attention longer than sites with only long format page content. So, from a strategic approach, it would be important to have long format content and video content to engage page visitors. Bounce rate hovers around the 40% mark on average. Given the high volume of site visitors to the sites being researched, this is a good number. This shows content relevancy and engaging content. The average on the right could provide a benchmark for on-site engagement. Next up, trends that indicate top countries where traffic could be expected from. Here, Udemy shows just over 20% traffic from India. This means that the platform is popular with audiences in this country. It also means that original course content could be hosted on this platform to gain an advantage where visibility and access is concerned. Also trust, since it's likely that audiences are already familiar with the platform. From a strategic perspective, this could mean hosting my own course content on this site. Similarly, if you've got consumer products that you can ship directly to customers, it might be viable to have it available on online marketplaces that consumers trust and are familiar with. Let's look at sources of traffic next. These cover the primary sources where website traffic can be expected from. As you can see from the averages, direct traffic is the highest, suggesting visitors across most sites have the platforms bookmarked or might simply type in the website's address into their browser. Given the nature of the industry product, online courses in this case, it might be required that visitors log in. So the outcome? it's important to have content for logged-in users. Organic traffic is the highest off-site traffic source. This indicates SEO initiatives would need to stand front and center in any strategic approach within this industry. So, a plan for content delivering on high-intent audiences who conduct searches. Since people seem to search quite a bit, one of the approaches could be to run search ads to quickly begin to gain visits. However, search could quickly become expensive given the volumes of traffic pulled by key players. So, if paid search is to become a component in the overall strategy, then it'll likely have to attract clicks that don't directly compete with the larger players. Next, we have referral traffic. Here, it looks like most players in the vertical get a fair amount of referral traffic. This means that there is a significant effort on the off-page SEO front and perhaps the utilization of affiliate programs to drive traffic. So, both of these would need to be explored for mid and long-term growth. Jumping to social traffic, we see that this too is a significant contributor to the various platforms. So there are two things to be considered here. One, consistent efforts on creating and posting organic social content for social proof. The second, social advertising, since it's highly targetable. Both of these take up time and money, so it would be vital to be judicious in formulating an approach for social. Display traffic contribution is low. It's likely used primarily for reinforcing and remarketing. Email traffic is around what one might expect. It takes effort to get users to part with information. Once you have user information, there's also an effort to manage lists, create systems to organize engaged or prospect customers, and then to effectively communicate with them. But it's a vital component in the overall agenda. Scrolling down, YouTube seems to be the highest traffic contributor to website traffic. This indicates the preference of audiences for video content and/or the possible use of video ads. So, from a strategic approach for this industry vertical, it would be vital to produce primarily video content, which is YouTube first. LinkedIn is also predominant. Not surprising, most active learners tend to upskill to gain a competitive career edge. So, maintaining a prominent LinkedIn presence would be important. It may also be important to engage on Reddit, placing relevant content and possibly to advertise. Similarly with X, formerly Twitter, and also with Facebook. Remember, it takes time and resources to manage and maintain multiple platforms, so the possibility to develop repurposable content might be important. Scrolling down to display sources, Google Display Network seems to be the most used, followed by Impact. GDN provides great features, especially to target similar audiences and for remarketing. That would likely be something to be considered while developing a rounded digital marketing approach. Next up, demographics. Male site visitors are higher, but not by much. This means that online education appeal is gender neutral, so content needs to necessarily appeal to both genders. Considerations will need to be made for design appeal and towards content creation. Most learners here come from the 25 to 34 age bracket, indicating people who are interested in advancing their careers. This is followed by a younger audience set between 18 and 24, people looking at kickstarting their careers. This information points to the need to establish specific audience personas towards whom communication and content can then be crafted. Absorbing this information, it's likely that the personas could be generation-based. For example, Gen Y, Gen Z, and then Gen X. Referrers next. Immediately, there's something that stands out. ChatGPT seems to be one of the top referrers. This means that a vast number of people visit after having researched topics on ChatGPT and then click through via referred links on the AI platform. The takeaway? For today's day and age, it's vital to develop AI consumable content. That's something to keep in mind. The top referring industries are programming and education, followed by computers and dictionaries. Expected. You'll want to look at outliers in your industry while conducting similar research. Below this, in the audience interests portion, a similar trend continues. Programming and education, followed by computers. The other interest is jobs and employment. You'll want to take note of these, since this should guide you towards the kind of content your audiences might be interested in. If you develop content that your audience finds interesting, you'll be likely to attract traffic, resulting in possible engagement and conversion. Now, looking at the portion about the sites that the audience also visits, users seem to cross-visit other key competitors the most, indicating a highly competitive business environment, where consumers shop about, looking for the right fit before committing to a course. Finally on this sheet, we see display publishers. YouTube seems to be the most preferred, showing real-world relevance. It seems to work. So, YouTube ads is something to consider here. In the next sheet, let's take a quick look at gender-wise engagement. People between 18 and 34, both male and female, form the bulk of visitors. Visitors across all age groups tend to stay on site for about 8.5 minutes. Udemy and Coursera seem to have the most engaged audiences as far as the bulk of the audience is concerned. After going through the sheet, here are some takeaways. Targeting male users 18 to 34 with advanced courses can likely drive site engagement. Other than Udemy, Coursera's high engagement suggests a successful content strategy for retention. Older users need different engagement strategies, possibly simpler content delivery, and perhaps personalized learning recommendations. Retention, potential areas could include better content discovery and an onboarding experience for long-term audience relationships. Now, before we conclude, I've put together some essential metrics you should take a look at. This PDF is available as a downloadable document in the resources section of this lesson. If you're tracking your business environment, be sure to look for shifts in mobile versus desktop usage over time. Keep an eye out for any correlation between pages visited and session durations. Look for any shifts in geographic traffic distribution. See if there are any significant shifts between direct, organic, paid, referral, and social. Keep an eye for any dominant social platforms driving traffic and any shifts in these metrics. Track which ad networks perform the best for key players. Are there any spikes in advertising? Try and discover why. Finally, and this is important, look for gender shifts or differences in engagement across age groups. This might mark an overall shift in your industry's audiences. Now, at each stage of this lesson, I've indicated how you can make observations, draw insights, and make strategic approach decisions. You will, however, need to know a bit about how each metric works and how they impact audiences, content, and traffic. You can look those up. However, you can use AI to run your analysis and provide strategic recommendations. In the next lesson, I'll show you how you can do just that. It's simple, fast, and accurate. See you soon.